You say, Mark, that space must be more than just for nations and plutocrats. How can the city help democratise the commercial opportunities of space?
Now, if you look at the treaties, now again, caveat that I'm not a lawyer and I'm not deep in these areas, but the first treaty to govern activity in space was, I think, the Outer Space Treaty in 1967. And that arose from the danger of nuclear weaponry in space. And it was kind of a defensive position. Broadly speaking, accepted. Most nations, those big three that I talked about earlier, and most across the planet have signed up to that. But there are some ambiguities in it. So it doesn't define, for example, peaceful activity, and it is really focused on state actors. So your point, Mary, about plutocrats, frankly, there is nothing in that treaty, as far as I'm aware, that governs the actions of individuals in space. So that's got gaps. By 1979, the Moon Treaty was drawn together, and that is really being led by the United Nations, but it hasn't got much support yet. The big three, they haven't signed. Most nations haven't ratified the treaty and haven't brought it into law. That does try and address some of these anomalies, and it does try to go further on the economic activity in space. Mining, for example, is one of the great potentials. We're looking at a situation in which the treaties need to be tightened. We're also looking at a situation in which Elon Musk and others have ensured that we can get more kit up into space. And what the UK can do is severalfold. We've recently released something called the Astra Charter, and it sounds a little bit bold and conceptual and aspirational. But I'll quote it. It says its strapline is to care for the infinite wonders of the universe. And that's not just a hippie ambition. It's really trying to create a conceptual framework for how people act in the economy of space to ensure that it's sustainable and yet that it delivers a prosperous and peaceful economy. And that's got the support of our king. It's got the support of a wide community in the UK. We also have, in governmental terms, something called the National Space Strategy in Action, which I think there was a Space Strategy in Action in 21. There's one that came out in July this year. And that's talking about how essentially we can build a community of expertise in the UK, both the technologists and the financial services community, to ensure that people can invest in space, quite literally invest in space, and draw the profit from it. Now, this is a hope on my side, but I believe that once there is a really broad base of people with an interest in space and a governance frame through the sharpening of the treaties, you will find that economic activity tends to be peaceful. I think if you leave space to the state actors and the billionaires, there won't be sufficient in, I suppose, the rewards of space, other than what the crumbs that humanity will take from it, to mean that there is a really solid, peaceful, an engaged international community. I might be slightly wordy on that, but what I'm driving at is if people can actually have a stake in what's happening in space, and I think the best place to have them get that stake is the City of London, then they will be more interested in ensuring peaceful development rather than simply sort of lasers going up there to knock down other people's kit.